Hunter Biden.
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 You talking about Hunter? Once you
None of
became
that
vice
is
president,
true.
he made a fortune in Ukraine, in China, in Moscow,
That is simply
and various
not
other places.
true.
Oh man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you are. Oh man, take a look at my life. I'm a lot like you are.
What should people know about Hunter Biden that they don't know?
Well, I made a lot of decisions that I probably shouldn't have made. Probably smoked more Parmesan cheese than anyone.
Oh man, take a look at my life. 54 years of crack and whores. Stumbling around the house, cutting business deals with you. I'm lost on the sauce. Really got my wires crossed. Like when you get completely lost, as you often do.
Investigation on Hunter Biden, the president's son.
Hunter Biden could face federal sex trafficking charges for transporting prostitutes
Oh
across
man, take a look at my life. I'm a lot like you. I just rolled out of bed and you can tell it's noon. Just one look in my eyes and you can tell I'm screwed.
No one votes or will vote for or against my dad because of me. Do you still believe that?
100%.
17% of Biden voters said they would have changed their vote or not voted had they known about the Hunter Biden laptop story.
That lost look in your eyes, falling down, your pants are brown. Spending days in such a haze and totally confused. Living life completely gassed. Look at all the time that's passed. Often I'll also fill my pants with the number 2.
My dad doesn't go after other people's kids.
Oh man, take a look at my life. I'm a lot like you. I'm incompetent and I'm a pedo too. Just one look in our eyes, the country knows it's true. Oh man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you are. Oh man, look at my life. I'm a lot like you are.
Well, it's not the sound of Monday because you had your commie holiday yesterday. I hope you all enjoyed it. It's a poor excuse for picking a man's pocket every first Monday of September.
Yes.
Every first Monday of September.
There you go.
Since I'm the only one who seems to see that. Take the day off. By the way, it's Parody Week. Tomorrow we have the Pelosi song.
Oh.
And then we have on Thursday, we have the Ilhan Omar song, which is actually a parody of Taking Back Sunday. And yes, it is all about her consummating with her brother. You can go and download all of these tracks. There's also like 25 other parody tracks. You guys have been asking for it. Spotify, Apple, Android. Go subscribe to the show, and you can listen to all of them. So, and take them with you.
It's good.
Take them with you on the go. It's portable. My question today, before I get into anything else, is Joe Biden, the former vice president, is he the most divisive former vice president of all time? A lot happened here since we didn't have a show on Friday. Thursday, he gave that speech. The Hitler-looking speech?
Yeah.
Looking.
Bad lighting.
Hitler-looking speech. Then he walked it back, of course, on Saturday. Or was it yesterday? I don't know. It's tough to keep track of the days. But I think a lot of people have missed something that I want to get into here. It's very different. If you look at Donald Trump, for all of his flaws, his rhetoric was squarely aimed at the elites in power, the Democrats. Joseph Robinette Biden's, it's hard, I have to get it all right.
Robinette.
Yes. Red Robin, yum. I don't know. That's the worst. It's the most inaccurate slogan ever.
But you remember it.
No one says yum at Red Robin.
Hunters use the onion ring tower for many reasons.
Yes, exactly. It's like, I just want a side of parm.
Just a side.
If that's the only thing you're ordering, it's not a side. Just a main of parm. So it's aimed squarely at you. Joe Biden has a problem with you, the voter, the citizen, not the people in power. That's unprecedented. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the mass stabbing in Saskatchewan, my homeland of Canada, 10 people. This is not the first time this has happened. I don't know if you know this, violent crime occurs elsewhere across the globe at much higher rates in the United States, and I'm really glad that we have the Second Amendment. So move in, that and more. Gerald A., how are you?
I am well, sir.
Good.
Still pissed off about Monday? Still pissed off.
I just don't, because we don't, as business owners, we don't get Labor Day off.
I love it.
I took yesterday off, I'll be honest.
I didn't.
I thought about business, if that helps.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
It doesn't.
No.
And then you know him, you love him, the fastest man on his feet, the quickest wit in the West, and he will be with me. We're together September 17th, the Smart Financial Center, Sugarland in Houston.
Ahoy.
How are you, Dave?
Ahoy.
Good?
Ahoy. Yes, good.
That's all we're going to get. You with the ahoys and him with the soundboard. Oh,
I know. That's all I got.
this is just going to...
No, I'm good. Yourself?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I hurt my back again. Since I
I
fractured my
enjoyed
foot.
barbecuing with fam.
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't barbecue.
Oh,
No barbecue.
You didn't barbecue?
I didn't barbecue. I would have liked to, but no, I did not.
Well, this
Well, that's the end of that conversation. Hey,
Your
announcements.
eyes teared up. You're like, I would have loved meat.
Like the lone Native American with a piece of trash.
Watching your neighbors.
Yeah.
You're like, well.
It's just the shrink wrap from a ribeye that I didn't get.
All you have to do is turn yours on.
It's there.
Announcement. Sorry, we have to kind of get through all of these first. Charleston, West Virginia, on October 8th. That date has had to be moved. It's canceled here for this fall, the spring tour. We're going to move it to the. It's fall. That's right.
October
Sorry, what I meant to say is
fall.
it's canceled for the fall tour. We'll move it to spring because of a personal scheduling conflict that I just couldn't get out of. So all of your tickets will be refunded, and at least 20 of you, actually, you know what, 50 of you, we are going to, Gerald's like 20, 50 of you, if you send your email to tips@louderwithcrowder.com and your stub of the ticket that will be refunded, we will actually fly you out and pay for the hotel and get you tickets to the Houston show on September 17th.
So make plans.
Tips@louderwithcrowder.com. We apologize. We will reschedule in West Virginia. All right. Now that I'm done with all of that, first, have you seen this? You haven't seen this clip yet, have you, Dave?
I have not. I didn't want to
trust
surprise
me.
myself once I read the setup.
Trust me. It's worth it.
Yes.
And you have to watch until the end.
Or want
Okay.
to surprise myself.
Good things for those who wait. You never really realize how impressive American cowboys are. Sorry, extremists who are a threat to democracy.
True.
Until you see just how crappy the cowboys of other countries truly are. Here's what I mean.
Kimbia! Tutaidu kimbie! Ya, jamani kamu wenyewe tena gari. Atamuua na gari.
It doesn't even have a lasso. What was he thinking he was going to do?
Nani? Inuka basi na kimbia. Nimeshakimbia kufungua.
What a Jeep commercial.
Fungueni wewe pata juu mjikani afungue mlango. Wewe
I love how Captain Love Handle is like, I will yell from afar. Now watch. It's over. It's over. He's in the clear on the car, right?
I can't ride anything. He can't even hold onto a roof rack.
Yeah, he was fine. He wasn't.
Grip something.
Yeah, he had some scratches from the bull, but he died of a broken neck falling off of the rescue jeep.
And now you're Christopher Reeve because you.
I believe I can fly.
Well, that's the most dangerous part of bull riding is the car.
Yes. Oh, that's why I always said that.
It's the SUV.
The reaction of the guy in the video.
It's all.
Like
I feel like rule number 1 is get on, but rule number 2 is probably hold on to whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Get on, stay on.
Just Spider-Man hands. Whatever you touch, grab. Just grab a hold of something.
What's the need to run away quickly in the Jeep? Just drive slowly away. What's the bullet going to do? Hit the car? Like,
Yeah.
come on.
When
Probably.
did the internal bleeding take his life?
What was he thinking? He went out there. He didn't even have like a lasso or a gun, like a hat. He had nothing. He was complete. What did he think he was going to do?
He didn't even have Marlboros. No. It's a wreck.
Some chaps? Like, put in an effort.
Yeah, do something. At least put on assless chaps if you're going to look like that.
I think all chaps are assless chaps.
Are they all?
Yeah, it's an oxymoron. I mean, what chaps have an ass? Then he wouldn't be chaps.
Well,
he actually
not the ones I wear.
just was diagnosed with monkeypox.
Yes, well, that also brings us to, I should let you know, I told you I would inform you today, was banned from Twitter, suspended for 12 hours. I'll get to why. So first off, I'll foreshadow here. Former Vice President Joe Biden has now requested another $47 billion in emergency funds from Congress for
good.
COVID, $22 billion. That's still a thing. Ukraine, $13 billion. Natural disasters, $6 billion. And then monkeypox vaccine distribution, $4.5 billion. Emergency funding. Now, I can understand if this was some kind of a virus or disease, we never saw it coming.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Statistically,
a lot of people saw it.
Yeah, we absolutely saw it coming. and we still see it spreading. Like, there's no doubt. So these are the new statistics. All references available at louderwithcrowder.com. This disease, this virus, is entirely preventable. How? Why? I know you're saying, hey, Stephen, Dave, Gerald, I trust you. How can I prevent monkeypox?
Mask wearing?
No butt sex with dudes. You're good. That's it.
That seems...
So 97.5%.
Is there another way I can prevent it?
No. What's door number 2?
I'm not a monk.
I think door number 2 is the problem.
Yes. 97.5% of United States cases have occurred between men who have sex with men. Plus 1% who identify as bisexual. So 98.5%.
Well, so that's not everyone who admits it.
They split out the 1%.
This might have been like the kids who got it and the bloodhound.
Oh, my God.
That's true. The 1% that was molested or a dog.
Yes.
Science.
They don't identify as men who have sex with men, though they have sex with men and are men.
Imagine being that parent bringing in, the two gay adoptive parents, bringing in that kid with monkeypox to the doctor. And they're like, your son has monkeypox. Like, oh, so it's airborne? It's not airborne. Maybe it could have been aerosol maybe?
Is that?
No, sir.
No.
Oh, well, I guess this is one of those, your guess is as good as mine. No, it's not a guess. We need to call CPS.
Where's Dr. House when you need him?
What's CPS here for? To give you an award for being the greatest parent.
Yes, exactly.
Because we live in stupid times.
Exactly.
They're both covered with monkeypox.
So 98.5%, right, occur between men who have sex with men. And I was suspended from Twitter in related news last week for this tweet. I said they refuse to call monkeypox a gay disease. Now, to be clear, also, this included context at that point. We had those numbers where it came from, I think it was Business Insider or CNBC, where they said, hey, it seems that it's not just being gay, it's not just gay men, but it seems to travel specifically through sexual contact between two men. So that context was also provided on Twitter, and they still suspended me. So here's the thing. After thinking about what they had done, I'm back on Twitter right now, by the way, I actually want to take this moment to apologize for my description of the monkeypox virus. It was insensitive, it was ill-timed, and it was grossly inaccurate. This suspension has forced me to do some self-reflection. Twitter, I should be thanking you. I realize that I have a lot of growing up to do. I owe the good people of Twitter better. I owe myself better. And above all, I owe you better. So I'd like to take this opportunity to correct my previous callous, inaccurate description of monkeypox and offer an amended, appropriate one in its place. Monkeypox, according to leading scientists, epidemiologists, and the overwhelming data, is not, in fact, a gay virus, as I previously stated. In reality, it is a virus which merely affects 98.5% disproportionately of those who have men who have sex with men and men who have sex with men-related communities, largely due to its novel method of transmission, which is both gross and hilarious. Butt sex. Gay butt sex. Sorry.
That's good.
It's powerful.
Everyone feel better?
I do.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
I know I do.
I'm not above recognizing when I'm wrong and righting them.
Yeah, I felt good. Like gay, but
Yes, just like that's the problem. A minute on the lips, forever on the monkeypox hips.
yes. They don't quit.
By the way, it's a live show Monday through Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern. Are we still on YouTube?
Glad we could clear that up.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't say anything that wasn't scientifically accurate.
No. That's the problem. Again, remember, scientific journals now have to get rid of data that might be considered offensive. So this is a live show Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern, except for commie holidays like Labor Day. You can watch us on Rumble. You can listen to the audio podcast where you can go and listen to all the parody tracks now, too. You have that entire playlist. And, of course, Mug Club, which you have a full extra hour of show. It's 100% longer every day, and you can just check here on YouTube for as long as we're here. All right. Here's something. Do I want to hit this first or get to... I guess I'll...
You have to hit this first.
So last week, the AP featured a story. And by the way, people aren't having kids nearly as much as they used to. I'd love to hear from you if you comment below how old you are and if you plan on having children or if you do have children, because that is a problem. So AP featured this...
talking about...
AP featured a story of a 24-year-old Texas woman named Elle Johnson who decided to have her tubes removed. And there was a whole piece right now showcasing many different people. Actually, one person here in the office knew one of the girls.
Really?
Yes, personally.
That's
so they were talking about why people are not having children anymore, here at AP. And a big part of it was because of social conscientiousness, climate crisis or overpopulation. So Johnson, this one lady, again, her name is Elle Johnson, cited many reasons for tying her tubes. In not wanting children, including, quote, the climate crisis. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's responsible to bring children into this world. She also said there are already kids who need homes. I don't know what kind of world it's going to be in 20, 30, 40 years. So the idea was a lot of people are not having kids because they think the world is a worse place. And this is a real problem. They think the world is going to be a worse place than it was for their parents. This is the first time where that's taken place. She also, by the way, Johnson cited the Roe v. Wade, of course, decision, that it was sealed by Roe v. Wade. I was thinking about getting my tubes tied, and then after Roe v. Wade, I absolutely had to. One issue here, Johnson is a lesbian. So guess how I know you're mentally ill without telling me you're mentally ill.
Because she didn't buy a turkey baster?
She's not a stand-in for Don't Breathe.
Oh, my God. Yes. And we didn't know you were a lesbian with that hair. Not at all.
So I am a lesbian, and because of Roe v. Wade... Yes. I'm a lesbian, and because of Roe v. Wade, I'm going to have my tubes tied in order to not... Because I don't want to bring children into this world. Yeah. And the AP they heard her story and they decided to put it in their little mobile carousel. Like, yeah, this is a perfect. This won't make us look silly.
It sounds perfect. No. Most of the excuses you heard were people being selfish. Oh, it's too expensive. I can't do this. One person, one couple, making $164,000 a year just could not find the resources to raise a child.
What it means is they don't want resources going out of their account.
They don't want
for something else.
responsibility.
Yeah.
They don't want
have
anything
any
to be
idea
hard.
the cost of boy haircuts?
That's true. $5.
Not to mention the blue dye.
Yeah, it's insanity.
You think you could get it done by melting a freezy, but that's not how it works.
Nose rings at Piercing Pagoda 3 times what they were in the 90s.
Exactly. I mean, even if it's just a cubic zirconium, it doesn't matter.
No.
It's a sacrifice. A lesbian, because of Roe v. Wade, having her tubes tied because she doesn't want to bring children into this world because of climate change and Roe v. Wade. And we are so far beyond the point of finding common ground. It's a real story. The references are available. You can go check it out. This is from a legitimate news outlet.
I got to take a pregnancy test. I mean, we were mushing muffs all night.
Right.
I've got to be pregnant, right?
I mean, there's no way on God's green earth I couldn't be pregnant.
Right.
After a night of lesbian sex.
I identify as pregnant, and I would like to identify as someone who had an abortion.
You know what? Don't have kids. You are 100% correct. You and people please do not have kids.
You had a surgery to prevent it.
Yeah, I hope that your doctor tying your tubes is a clown who specializes in balloon knots.
It's just pretend.
It's a slip.
Do you want a hysterectomy or do you want a sword?
Yeah. He just hands you a crazy straw. Here they are.
Face painting you.
Does your friend want to be a tiger?
Right.
All right.
But this brings us into former Vice President Biden. You're the extremist because you voted Republican. MAGA Republicans, which, by the way, means 70-something million people who voted for Donald Trump. No, this is not the extremist. Why do you mistrust your institutions like legacy media and mainstream media? Well, I don't know, maybe because you ran a story about a woman who felt the need to tie her tubes because of Roe v. Wade, even though she's a lesbian. Could it be any more virtue signaling? Could it be any more clear of an example of political grandstanding? And we're all supposed to sit here and go, oh, yeah, no, we don't want to be extremist, and say, hey, that's crazy.
There's so many lesbians that saw that and were probably like, you didn't need to do that.
Right, yeah. No, but I wanted to.
Yeah, right, but you didn't need to do that.
Also, guess why I don't support socialized medicine? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My tax dollars at work.
Hi, I'm here for the elective pointless surgery. Oh, great.
Also, do you know if Bass Pro accepts EBT cards for plaid shirts?
No, they don't. Sorry. I need a fishing license. I'm just kidding. I just need to look like I fish.
She just shows up to Eddie Bauer with an ice pack on her womb. Ugh, rough day. Yes, I'll take all the flannel.
She'd get in her Eddie Bauer Explorer.
All right, so this brings us to, again, the exact kind of, I guess I would say, this is a crystallization of our times. So we were off on Friday, and Biden gave a speech on Thursday. And I'm actually glad that we didn't do a show on Friday because then he changed what he said in his speech retroactively. He said, no, I didn't mean what I actually said. And people said, but you said it. He said, yeah, I know.
And I meant it, but I didn't mean it.
And let me too, I want to get to a couple of points that I think other people are missing, because I know a lot of you out there, and I'd love for you to comment below, if it made you sick to your stomach watching this speech, and before you hear or watch this segment, I'd like you to tell me why you think that is. Because I think that I have a hunch. First off, when I saw this speech, I was asking myself, okay, why give this speech? Now, I could understand if he was trying to feather in the fact that he hates you, the voter, Republicans, right? MAGA Republicans, as he calls them. If it was a speech because there was a declaration of war, or maybe after something like a 9/11 or some kind of Hurricane Katrina, some kind of Harvey natural disaster where he needed to address the nation, and then said, and by the way, we also have some bad actors, but none of that. He decided to take the podium and give a speech with the express purpose of targeting political opposition. That has never happened in my lifetime. I don't know if you can remember that ever. I was sitting there, why is he giving this speech? He's giving it just to say people who voted for Donald Trump are a threat to democracy. And here's something else that I think is very telling. I would encourage you to go and watch the whole speech. Donald Trump, for all of his faults, I really don't believe he reviled Biden voters, Democrat voters. He had a problem with the people in power. And by the way, he did it with the elites in power with Republicans. Think about it. Jeb Bush, people like Marco Rubio.
Yep.
He had a problem with the ruling class elite. He coined the term the swamp. You may not like it, right? Because a lot of people on the left have said he's sowing mistrust in the institutions, but he never called for targeting or for marginalizing of Biden voters for the same reason that people hated Donald Trump, right? His Charlottesville speech, to give you an example after that. And he did. The media did a hatchet job. He said, I'm not talking about white supremacist neo-Nazis who should be condemned totally. But his famous quote where he said there were fine people on both sides. Think about that for a second. What he was saying was, hey, there are people who wanted these statues down, and there are people who wanted to keep these statues up because even though these figures are flawed, they believe it's a part of their history. And there were fine people on both sides. In other words, he was saying that there were fine people on the side of his political opposition, even though he didn't believe in tearing down statues. He was saying there are people on both sides who have legitimate points, and they should be able to have a discussion. The same quote, which has been taken out of context, for which people blame Donald Trump, is proof positive that his disdain is not with you. It's with the people who lie to you. Joe Biden's problem is with you. So let's show the first portion of his speech where he condemned, quote, MAGA Republicans, you, everyone in this room.
Too much of what's happening in our country today is not normal.
No shit, Sherlock.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic. Now, I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican, not even the majority of Republicans are MAGA Republicans. Not every Republican embraces their extreme ideology. I know, because I've been able to work with these mainstream Republicans.
That's also a lie.
But
We'll
there's
get into
no
that.
question
0 voted for his
The
biggest bills.
Republican
None.
Party today is dominated, driven, and intimidated by Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans.
Ugh.
And that is a threat to this country.
Okay, first off, who again? I want to contrast here. You, the voter. Who out there, if you're a Republican, you're a conservative, are you intimidated by Donald Trump? Even people, if you're a never-Trumper, you don't like him. Are you intimidated by Donald Trump?
Well, why are you now?
Right.
That's what I don't understand. Like, what opposition are you going against right now?
Right.
What are you doing now?
They have everything.
Your backdrop is lovely, by the way.
Well, exactly. Who was paid to stage this event?
Yeah.
The optics were they were so bad that CNN, again, if you want to see the media running interference, CNN actively tried to change the coloring, from the aggressive fascist blood red to like a fuchsia. And you can see it, and I want to show you this. You can watch it in real time. They said, this looks bad, this looks bad, this looks bad. CNN was running interference for them, and you can see the colors of the flag change, where they become kind of a mauve, right? Yeah.
You want me to run that clip?
Yeah, let's run this clip. Wait, hold on a second, actually. Let's run, clip B.
Okay.
Democracy endures only if we, the people, respect the
watch.
guardrails of the Republic. Only
See the background,
if
look at the flag.
we, the people, accept the results of free and fair elections. Only if
Pink.
we, the people, see
And you can see it on the
politics
flag, the red stripes on the
not
flag.
as total
They didn't
war,
change
but
the lighting.
mediation of our differences.
CNN changed the color balance.
Democracy cannot survive when one side believes there are only two outcomes to an election. Either they win or they were cheated. And that's where the MAGA Republicans are today.
Yeah. And by the way, he also went on, just to be clear, as you see that background, he did go on, this was disturbing, to say this.
Wenn ja, dann tritt für mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingetreten bin.
At least he didn't stumble on his words.
No. I gotta say, he was a better public speaker.
Yes.
For all his faults.
He didn't need a teleprompter.
No, I mean, he really just felt it.
Think about this, though. What he's saying is MAGA Republicans. That means 74 million people. That's my question here. Who qualifies as MAGA? Do we have that to ding the question? No, that's okay. 74 million people who voted for Donald Trump.
The most in history.
Right. The most in
other than
Joe Biden.
Right. Other than Joe Biden, the most in history up until that point.
The second most in history until then. Also, it's like they broke the record twice in this last election.
What's like with an asterisk?
Well, it's because Joe Biden really enthused his base.
I think if he just took
Giant
off that
rallies.
last A, it would have helped.
Right.
If it was just "Make America Great,"
Yes.
that's what we should have gone with.
That's what they're just getting mad at. Again, what do you mean again? Well, we mean that there was 8 years of Obama and now another 4 years of former Vice President Biden. And you know what? It's not great.
You know who said that? Bill Clinton said that.
Right.
Make America Great Again. So, yeah, I guess he's a fascist, too.
So let's get through this. And I think the reason it rubs a lot of people the wrong way is because you are the target. There's a big difference between Joe Biden being the target, and I mean this figuratively, between Jeb Bush being the target, between Kamala Harris being the target, the political target, versus you, the voter, the citizen. Donald Trump didn't do that.
Do you think this is to stir up stuff before November, though, to really cause somebody to go off the rails and then be like, see, they're dangerous?
Right.
That's what I think it is.
Well, but look, every single time that...
I don't think that it's crazy to think that.
No, not at all. And every single time
I'm not
that Donald
saying, and
Trump
it's a
gets,
thought, YouTube.
Every time he gets brought up, they start winning because people are like, oh, I have to vote against Donald Trump. I have to vote against MAGA Republicans because they're this subset of Republicans that we have to go out and defeat. So every time, he doesn't want to talk about what he's done. He doesn't want to talk about his policies. He just gave a speech on who to hate.
Right.
That was it.
Well,
right.
He can't talk about what he's done.
These policies are fantastic and wonderful and might be overturned by the Supreme Court. Who knows? Student loan debt, right?
Right.
He's not going to talk about that stuff. He's going to talk about this enemy that we all have to kind of galvanize ourselves against.
Right.
That's his only play.
The other. Yeah, it's the other. It's sort of MAGA Republican. And then he tries to say, well, I'm talking about MAGA Republicans. So that's 74 million people who voted for Donald Trump. And it's hard for me to find these numbers. Maybe you could send them in. It would be helpful. I do know $45 million worth of MAGA hats. The official MAGA hats were sold in 2019.
Alone.
I believe that it is the single best-selling piece of politically oriented merchandise in American history. Certainly more than Biden-Harris or Build Back Better. The point is, this is a lot. This includes a lot of Americans, people who would wear that hat.
Yeah.
And here's something else too that I think rubbed people the wrong way, and some other media outlets maybe missed. They always try and use the Constitution. Notice that, the left, when it's convenient for them. And of course, no one buys it. And I mean, Democrats don't buy it either. Republicans clearly don't. Democrats don't. How can I prove to you that Democrats only use the Constitution as a cudgel? Well, here's why. And we're going to do a segment on the midterms tomorrow, how Democrats have to sort of fake like they're centrist in order to win and then govern far left. Whereas Republicans have to appeal to their base, right? This is what they lament. The base is too extreme, but at least Republicans, their feet are held to the fire. Look at how Republicans, conservatives, look at where they are upset with Joe Biden and why, as it relates to the Constitution, for the same reason that sometimes conservatives were upset with Donald Trump. They will say, hey, he's trampling on our constitutional rights. What angers Republicans, these extremists, these conservatives, is you're pissing on the Constitution, the First Amendment, the Second Amendment. Yeah. Whereas the left, they say, well, when it's convenient, look at this Constitution because you're questioning the integrity of election results, which, by the way, Joe Biden did, Kamala Harris did, Elizabeth Warren did, Amy Klobuchar did, Jimmy Carter did.
Hillary Clinton.
Bernie Sanders. They all did.
Yeah.
Take your pick from the Democrats. All of them did. But the difference here is when it comes to the Constitution, let's disregard the voting issue, they think it's racist. Look at the Black Lives Matter demands. Look at the demands of all of these activists. Look at the articles at Alternative Press, at Huffington Post. The Constitution was written by racist white guys. So we now have systemic discrimination because of the Constitution. They don't like the Constitution. They want to do away with it when convenient. The Republican, the MAGA, the extremist voter base, they are only extreme in that they expect you and they want you to adhere to the Constitution. That's just what I observe. You can let me know if you agree with it. I think that's why it rubs people the wrong way, and you see it as inauthentic when Democrats claim some kind of constitutional argument or precedent. Because, of course, Biden went on to make the argument that MAGA Republicans, what? Don't respect the Constitution.
MAGA Republicans do not respect the Constitution. They do not believe in the rule of
we're
law.
back
They
to
do
red.
not recognize the will of the people. They refuse to accept the results of a free election. And they're working right now, as I speak, in state after state, to give power to decide elections in America to partisans and cronies.
No.
Empowering election deniers to undermine democracy itself.
Cronies would.
Yeah.
When we're talking about cronies, we're talking about, sort of political hatchet men. We're talking about people who are lifetime politicians. Would 50 years suckling at the public teat qualify, Joe?
Yeah. And as recently as just a few years ago, your own party was saying, hey, we need to shore up election security to make sure that our elections can be trusted. Because we're switching from, paper to technology, and sometimes that can be a little wonky. Everybody that is making changes right now, there may be an outlier or two here or there, right? And we'll get those people out of the party because they're not really conservatives in the first place. All of the changes that are being made right now, all of the processes that are being looked at are to make it harder to cheat.
Yeah.
Because we know that it can and does happen.
Let's even take the most extremist, right? The most actually a legitimately small percentage. People who think that the ghost of Chavez came back and rigged Dominion voting machines. Okay. What is unconstitutional about What is unconstitutional about someone questioning that?
Yeah.
There's nothing. In other words, if they're saying, hey, I don't believe this election was legitimate, if someone says that, there's nothing that would be incongruent with the Constitution.
Right.
So my question to you is, which side actually cares about the Constitution? They try and say you don't care about the Constitution if you question election integrity. Okay. I don't see where in the Constitution it says you're not allowed to question state laws that have been changed, for example, that go against the state constitution, like in Pennsylvania. I don't see anywhere in the Constitution that the two cannot be parallel. My question is, can you be in line with the Constitution and the framers' intent if you don't believe that the Second Amendment is absolute?
Well, yeah.
What about the First Amendment? Freedom of speech, right? What about the freedom of assembly? Right? Not shutting down people in churches, for example. You have in Canada, but here in the United States with public gatherings, depending on political persuasion. In other words, which side cares about the Constitution? You cannot say, hey, we need to disarm people, and then claim, but we're pro-Constitution because we don't want you to question election integrity. Hey, we're pro-Constitution, but we also think that there's a limit on the First Amendment and freedom of speech. If it's too offensive, they never are in line with the Constitution as a result of their policies and their platform. But they want you to believe that you're shredding the Constitution if you say, I'm not sure that mail-in ballots with no ID is the best way to conduct elections.
And not being congruent with the Constitution would be telling that person they're not, they don't have the right to have that opinion.
Right.
Or to say that out loud.
Yeah,
exactly.
Which is what they're doing right now, right? And he also said that Republicans don't respect the rule of law. Wait a minute, I'm sorry. Was it Republicans that took to the street and started burning down cities for the Summer of Love?
Yes.
I don't think so. I don't think it's the Republicans who go out into the streets and start torching towns when things don't go their way or when massive events happen. Obviously, that was a big deal for everybody, but we don't do that.
You're forgetting about September 11th to January 6th.
There was poops.
Yep.
Hey, guys.
There was
Just keep it peaceful. They're going to let us in. You mean that January 6th?
There was poops, and there was a little model noose.
Yes, and I do believe they were possibly waved in.
They possibly.
I only judged that by the video.
Yeah, well, it's just like we had the guys with the cones and the flags waving the hijackers in a 9/11. Like,
right? No, didn't happen.
That'd be weird walking into work that day.
Yeah.
Who's that feller?
Yeah. Why is he up on scaffolding with tracker balloons? So then Biden attempted to walk back his comments and soften them, but then doubled down on them again. He did this. It wasn't Saturday. It was Sunday. It's hard because Labor Day, so it messes me up. So here's Biden walking his comments back on Sunday after that speech.
I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican is a MAGA Republican. Not every Republican embraces that extreme ideology. I know because I've been able to work with mainstream Republicans my whole career. But the extreme MAGA Republicans in Congress have chosen to go backwards, full of anger, violence, hate, and division. But together, we can and we must choose a different path.
Okay, so hold on a second. I'm going to get to the violence in a second. But this is the divide and conquer. Right? Everything is seen through the lens of class, of race, of gender, sexual orientation. The same thing here. He's trying to do it, but with people on the right. He's trying to give you an out to say, oh, I'm not with them. I'm not with the MAGA people. No. Don't be fooled by it. Because then he says, unlike the mainstream Republicans who I've been able to work with, that's complete, unadulterated monkeypox shit. So let's look at the Inflation Reduction Act. His biggest accomplishment, right? One of the biggest bills, if I believe it is the biggest, if not one of the biggest. I don't know if you adjust for inflation, ironically, the Inflation Reduction Act. Yeah. 0 Republicans voted for it in the House. 0 Republicans voted for it in the Senate. So are they all MAGA? In other words, it's not the ones that I've worked with. So in other words, all of them, because you've been unable to work with any. And by the way, this includes Republican wieners who I don't like and I think are weak. They wouldn't go with you. So, okay, not the Republicans who I've worked with. On your biggest legislative accomplishments, name one!
Liz Cheney? No. Adam Kinzinger? No.
Not even them.
Romney?
Not even Mitt?
Ovaltine? So he says that, and then he tries to walk it back, but I guess CNN didn't get the memo because they had their skeleton crew. Because
they're all being fired.
They do their little reality check thing, which is just
I hate that guy.
No, but it's different. It's this guy. It's Avalon, John Avalon.
No, I hate him.
Yeah, but he's not the one who usually does the reality check. Is it Shudo? I forget.
No. It's Avalon.
Is it always Avalon?
Yeah.
Oh, well, screw that guy.
Frankie?
Yeah.
No. No.
So John Avalon then tried to defend the initial attacks on MAGA Republicans that Biden made before Biden said that's not what I meant. So they need to get together on the rule book here from CNN, running interference for the most popular president, of course, of all time.
What we need most and have least of right now is perspective on our politics. And that's why I was glad to see a typically thoughtful analysis from the Washington Post Philip Bum, who set about trying to find exactly how many Americans fit the criteria for extremist MAGA Republicans. Now, here are the criteria. They reject the 2020 election results, embrace candidates who also reject the results, approve of the Capitol riot, and finally,
don't lump that all in
as a political tool. Now, we've all seen polling about how 60 to 70% of Republicans believe Trump's election lies. But here's the big thing to remember. Just 28% of Americans identify as Republicans, according to a recent Gallup survey. So even if 66% of Republicans believe that Biden's not a legitimate president, as a July CNN poll found, that's just over 18% of all American adults. And what about the 41% of Americans
is
who say they're
millions.
independent voters? Well, even if you add in the 1/3 of independents who lean Republican, you're still talking about a decidedly minority opinion.
I love, by the way, how he thinks he has to do all of this estimating. Like, you don't need that math equation. You can just look at the polls and say, hey, how many Americans think that we need tighter election security? So it's more than just 18% of Americans, just to be clear. It's like almost half of the country thought there was foul play in this last election, depending on which poll you use and depending on which week. But he's like, if you take this percent of self-identified Republicans, then it could be this percentage, and then if you take this independent. So if we estimate, well, you don't need to do that.
Well, I love that he said only 28% of America is Republicans, and then under it says Democrat. 29%.
And half of those voter rolls are dead.
Oh yeah,
I know, it's amazing.
This is the worst kind of, because he said at the end of that too. He threw these criteria out. What are MAGA Republicans? Right? You believe the lie. You vote for candidates that believe the lie. You think January 6th was okay. I don't think a lot of Republicans were saying, hey, everything that happened on January 6th was just fine. I had a problem.
Most of the people there wouldn't agree with you. With the hundreds of thousands of people, you're talking about like 24 who actually went in. The rest of them are going, hey guys, I don't think you should do that.
Hey, don't think. And by the way, Fed, that thing. Yeah. But the last thing that he put on there was so that every single person would start shaking their heads and go, yeah, he's right. They believe in violence as a political tool.
Right.
Where was that in your poll, John?
Yeah.
What did you ask people? Do you believe that is violence never okay? We wouldn't be a country if that was the case, right? Because we had a little bit of violence to kind of become a country.
Kind of the basis of our country.
Like our government here. But you're starting to pit people against each other because you have to broaden these terms into things that scare people. That's it. That's all John's doing. He's not giving you perspective. He's out there being a Biden apologist, and he's stumbling through his words much like Herr Biden.
Yeah, I know. He's just
so stupid.
By the way, if it's only 18% of Americans, well, Biden can't just run against 18% of Americans. That's the thing. If that's all it is, then this is wrap it up. This is an easy election for Joe Biden.
That's not even the percentage of his brain that works.
You mean 18% of the 10%?
Yes.
18% of the time he makes it to the toilet every time.
18% of the 10%, which means it's, I don't know, is Alzheimer's.
Very little.
Yes.
He's not a math.
If my math is correct.
I don't want to diagnose him like that bitch from Yale who diagnosed Donald Trump and just lost her spot at Yale. Did you see that?
It's got to be good with it.
They were like, why did I lose? Because you're supremely unqualified and you diagnosed someone who you never saw as a patient and you were wrong.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. So I have to be accurate?
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Oh.
Unbelievable.
What dark times. So he wants you to believe it's only 18%. Okay, if only 18% of the country are MAGA Republicans, and by the way, MAGA, let's just be honest, means synonymous with people who would vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Then the election wouldn't be an issue. Of course, they don't believe that. And then he talks about how they support violence. Look, we don't have to guess and do a number and fractions and the common denominator and do cross. What's it called? Cross
division.
Cross division. Is that what it is?
Know.
I have no idea. I had a math teacher who told me cross division was a myth.
Long division, cross.
No, cross multiplication.
Cross multiplication. My grandma would put me in skirts and call it cross division.
I don't know. I have one of these that solves all the problems. Who knows?
Cross multiplication. I had a math teacher tell me it was a myth, and I was like, but I come to the same answer. He's like, yeah, but you can't actually do it. It's not the right way to do it. I was like, I don't care.
I'm just getting angry at that story.
You should.
Just not at you.
Which story?
Just the idea that your teacher said. I just don't understand that math stuff. Once you get past addition, subtraction, division, I'm like,
Yeah, who cares?
Calculator.
I have a calculator.
Yeah.
But this is something they also want you to believe, is that if you support, for example, the idea of strengthening election integrity. In other words, when they say, or they think that elections aren't free and fair, let's be specific about that. Do you believe in voter ID? You're a MAGA extremist.
Right.
Period. We've done segments on that, of course. They paint anyone who believes in having identification to vote as being an extremist. So here's another question that I have. If it's really only that small of a percentage of people who support the use of political violence, let's assume that's true. Is it right-wingers who are an actual threat to democracy? If we're talking about violence, if we just distill it down to, okay, maybe they believe the election, but violence, right? We're talking about citizens, extremist citizens who are willing to be violent. That's kind of the last argument they have, because none of the rest makes sense. You know this and I know this. Why did I say this? I should say that. I sound like Arnold.
This and that.
You know this. I know this. We both know this. Who says this?
That.
And you know this.
Put that cookie down,
man.
So we know the numbers of the billions of dollars in damages, and I'll get to that. Well, here, let me just cite these really quickly. During the riots, of course, there was at least $2 billion in insurance claims. This is Collage D4 there, given 600,000 officer casualties, 30 deaths in the summer of love, right?
60,000 officer casualties.
What did I say?
You added a zero.
I said 600,000?
You said 600.
Oh, 60,000. 60,000 officer casualties. I know you're saying 60,000 officers weren't killed. No, casualties, includes serious injury as well. So these were going on at a time in the country, right? We were streaming this live. I remember when they said mostly peaceful. Mm-hmm. Hey, hold on a second. What was then vice presidential nominee Kamala Harris? What did she say back then when we're talking about extremists? She was watching the extremists. right? Billions of dollars in damages. Tens of thousands of officer casualties. David Dorn and a police officer shot dead over a TV set. 30 officers shot dead throughout that summer. Entire square city blocks taken over by anarchists. What was Kamala Harris saying at that point in regards to political violence?
And I want to make clear that I know that there are protests still happening in major cities across the United States. I'm just not seeing the reporting on it that I had
that's right.
for the first few weeks.
That's right. But they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop. And they're not
smiling.
This is a movement, I'm telling you.
Look at her.
They're not going to stop.
Oh, it gets worse.
And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And everyone should take note of that on both levels, that they're not going to let up, and they should not. And we should not.
They should not. There's a big difference between saying they're not going to stop, like I said that. I said, they're not going to stop. This is terrible. But she says, they're not going to stop, nor should they. I disagree with you, respectfully. They should stop.
It's all in tone.
Yeah.
She says it's smiling. It's June when she makes that comment. They're not going to stop up to Election Day, November. They're not going to stop after. So you mean even if you win the election, that's not going to be enough? Right. Is that what you're saying? It's never enough until you completely change this country and go away from the Constitution, which we just talked about?
Right.
Thank you for telling us exactly what you're going to do if people would only listen to that.
Can't stop till you get enough, which, by the way, she also listened to in 1962. Don't know how she did
Smoking weed with Tupac.
Yeah.
So here's something worse with her.
Playing tape records.
She didn't just say they shouldn't stop. She raised money to bail out violent rioters during the Minnesota riots, in case you've forgotten. She tweeted, if you're able to, chip in now to the Minnesota Freedom Fund to help post bail for those protesting on the ground in Minnesota. Now, this isn't just a lone gunman when you're talking about these riots. Again, put yourself back where you were during these riots. They want to memory hole you. I find myself sometimes going, wait a second. Did I dream that they had lit a cop car on fire? Did I dream that they tried to ransack the CNN building and the police? Oh, did Chaz Chop not happen? Were they right now or acting as though? Let me ask you this. Joe Biden went up and gave this speech, okay? Political violence. What's the catalyst for it? In recent weeks, what major act of political violence from the MAGA crowd, the right crowd, has happened? Every single day. Thousands were happening during those riots throughout the summer.
Yeah.
What's the catalyst for this? In other words, there is none. They don't have anything, so they're trying to warn you about violence that may come. And as Dave said, there's a theory that maybe they're trying to actually stir it up. Of course, don't take the bait from the Fed glowworms. This Kamala Harris to the Backed Fund, just so you know, it helped release repeat felon Sean Michael Tillman on April 29th. He was charged with murder August 30th. So he was released. Who could have seen that coming? That the guy who wanted to defund the police and burn down buildings and a Walgreens might actually go on to continue being a violent criminal.
Yeah. And this is the fund that she told you to contribute to. If you have time to help out to get these freedom fighters out of jail, you mean the murderer?
Yeah.
You're saying a violent criminal got out and hurt somebody?
Yeah.
Is there something wrong with our prison system?
Well, it's not wrong with our prison system so much as it is her Twitter profile.
Oh.
Yeah, because she got him money to be bailed out.
Oh, right. He didn't make it to the prison system.
She belongs to the streets.
It's more like a revolving door, like Elf.
Well, of course.
You just keep going around.
You're just confused in it, and then they let you go.
Were you about to say something there, Gerald? No? Okay. Did you have something?
Do you want to stay on YouTube or not? There are things that I want to say. No.
I don't know what's behind door
We
number
never
2.
know what monkeypox.
Yes.
Yeah. No, trust me, I wouldn't claim that 98.5% of monkeypox cases are between men that have sex with men. I would never do that.
I'm curious as to what you have at the end of that Hershey Highway.
We'll do it on
What's
this
there?
Mug Club.
What's
Guys,
there?
I'm gay.
All right, we'll talk about this on. We'll talk about this on Mug Club.
Say it's in a land of pure imagination.
Please.
Yes. Yeah.
No, that doesn't work.
And if Gerald wants to see paradise, simply look around and he will.
Where am I? Portland?
Anything you want to say it.
The schnozberries taste like monkeypox.
Oh, the sores are weeping. I hope it'll last. What's that, monkeypox from gay butt sex? No, you can't have monkeypox, no! You had gay butt sex and identify as bisexual, so you get nothing!
Those are Oompa Loompas. They're that color. Because of gay sex.
Yes, the monkeypox comes with comorbidities, like jaundice.
Oompa Loompa, we're giving it to you. Spreading it around is what we do.
What do you get when your anus prolapses? We want to say on YouTube. I'm not.
And now I'm not the cause of it.
97.5. 97.5.
Plus one.
Plus, yeah, the bisexual.
Don't forget the plus one.
There's
They're
a
gay, but don't call
bisexual, and
themselves
there's
gay.
a dog that's like, I love croc.
Yes. Only you can take a bite out of ass.
Here's my red rocket. Let's get in.
I'm ready. You ready?
What was his name?
Well,
McGruff?
that was Rough McGruff.
That was Scruff McGruff.
The new guy is Rough McRuff.
Yeah. Scrote McCock.
I derailed
The monkeypox dog.
Your dog bit, well, he more licked me.
Yeah. Hey, you know what I think?
Encouraged it.
You know what I think is extremist? Allowing a gay sex festival to go on in San Francisco and then declaring a statewide emergency for monkeypox the very next day.
No,
I think that is more extreme than pulling the lever for Donald Trump. I don't know.
And by the way, how much violence? So this is okay. Donald Trump is the leader of this MAGA movement that you say is so dangerous, and the rhetoric is so violent. How many protests in cities have we had since you raided, for the first time in history, raided a president's personal residence? How many protests? How many cities have been burned down? How many officer casualties have we had? Mm-hmm. I think the number on all of those fronts is zero. Really, the political unrest, the violence is really on this side. Mm-hmm. What more could you have done to spark it?
It's a zero.
I think it's a big zero.
It's a very small zero, like a balloon knot,
wide zero.
like a brown starfish.
So, my understanding, a lot of those documents were just card tricks.
Yes.
Yes. Empty folders.
No, if that were the case, they would have confiscated his hand. It's always the ace. It's always the ace of clubs.
It's Copperfield.
He's palming it.
Could you imagine having him do like he would get so mad, like, Ed, look, is this your card? No. Yes, it is.
This is a terrible match.
Fake.
All right.
Now you can walk. He just pushes a kid out of a wheelchair.
See? Look at that.
Where's the one that's supposed to have good legs?
All right. Speaking of which, while we're talking about violence, a lot of you may believe that violence can only be carried out with guns.
Right.
You would be mistaken.
You would be.
So my homeland of Canada. I actually have one more question before I get to this. While we're talking about monkeypox and gay stuff, the bisexual, the 1% bisexual, I have a theory.
Yeah.
Totally a theory. Mm-hmm. If a woman says she's bisexual, particularly in college, it means she's trying to be cool. If a guy says he's bisexual, he's gay. Mm-hmm. Comment below. And then does the defense hold water?
Or monkeypox.
I've never met a bisexual guy who wasn't gay.
Well, yeah, I just think that the two guys, one girl is...
It's gay.
Why even have the girl there?
Yeah, I know. Also seems like a lot of work.
It's just somebody who's like, yeah, I was there when I saw two men having sex. I just happened to be in the middle.
Yes.
You basically had a finger trap.
Right. Just watching them like queers in the mist.
Yeah, there's... Can you come in because we're not fully committed yet?
Yes.
You can be late. We'll start without you.
You're what we call incidental.
Yeah.
What is this, Stelter putting on
Yeah.
slumber party?
Oh, you can wait outside and have some soda.
Yeah, because we're bisexual, you know.
Yeah.
Get it correct.
We're
we're the 1% bisexuals. Okay, so while we're talking about violence here, Canada, I say my homeland, I was born in Detroit, but I was raised in Canada. Okay. It's a silly place. It's a stupid place.
Yeah.
And it has the worst world leader. I mean, I use that term loosely. Prime Minister of Canada. It's the worst leader of a country, I think, on the planet right now is Trudeau. I don't know that you can get much worse. But Sunday, and this is incredibly sad, 2 men went and they wounded 18, killed 10 on a mass, I know what you're thinking the next word will be, mass stabbing spree. Here's a clip.
The knife attack is one of the deadliest mass killings in Canada's history. Canadian police say the 2 suspects, Damien Sanderson and Miles Sanderson, are on the run after stabbing multiple people, and they're armed and dangerous.
We are confident that someone out there knows the whereabouts of these 2 and has information that would be valuable to the police.
Authorities say the first
Shouldn't
stabbing
you?
took place at about 5:40 a.m. on Sunday.
I wish this
and
news
within
clip they could
minutes, they were
balance it.
notified
Yeah.
of the others across the James Smith Cree Nation. Police say there are at least 13 different crime scenes.
And by the way, that is from the original news. It's like Revolution number 9, just going to one heavier than the other.
Yeah, they split the audio.
So Trudeau also tweeted out, the attacks in Saskatchewan today are horrific and heartbreaking. I'm thinking of those who have lost a loved one and of those who were injured. Now, keep in mind, this is one thing, a macro point here. A lot of people say, well, the reason we need to ban assault weapons, and by the way, assault weapon, right? I'm carrying us, all of us in here have your assault weapons. If it's over 10 rounds, if it's depending on the aesthetics. In other words, it's an undefined term. When people say, well, you can't do as much damage with a shotgun, you can't do as much damage with a revolver, you can't do as much damage with a bolt action, you can't do as much damage with a knife. Here's the thing, it's a mind warp. And you, even a conservative American out there who tends to be informed, and often we can see that you check our references, may not realize that you're still sort of keeping your inherent bias in place, that you're thinking about, well, yeah, I guess they would do less damage with a knife in the United States because they'll be stopped by someone with a gun. But in a place like Canada, or you see this in France, you see it all across Europe on a regular basis, if there isn't a good guy with a gun, you can kill just as many people with a knife. Of course you can go on a mass stabbing spree. Who's going to stop them? In a land where people are disarmed, all that is required for someone to do massive damage is a willingness to break the unwritten rules. And I know we have written rules, crime laws, but I'm saying it's an unwritten agreement if you're in a room with people that you don't stab me, right? I'm sort of banking on you not stabbing me. The United States, the unwritten agreement we also have is, I'm hoping you don't stab me and you don't know what I have on my belt.
I don't trust you.
Right. But if you
That's healthy.
If you take into account, in the United States, you don't think a mass stabbing can happen. Right. It can happen where people don't have guns.
Right.
It's very, very easy for it to happen. It's actually not even altogether uncommon. And Trudeau obviously previously stated that, we've run this clip before, Canadians, and he thought this was a good thing, do not have the right to use guns for self-protection. Sorry, wrong clip. Or right clip. Here's the clip that I was looking for.
You can't use a gun for self-protection in Canada. That's not a right that you have in the Constitution or anywhere else. If you try and buy a gun and say it's for self-protection, no, you don't get that.
There are at least 10 people and 18 others that would disagree with you right now, Justin. They would love the right to be able to use a gun for self-protection.
Yeah. And I know what they're saying is, yeah, but that guy who stabbed them could have used a gun as well. Sure, but here's the thing. I believe that a more evil act is to rob someone of their right to self-defense. I believe that is more evil than allowing everyone to own a firearm and understanding that violence is a part of the human condition. It is unconscionable evil to me to force citizens to be sitting ducks. That is very, very different from people accepting the risk of living in a society where people are allowed to protect themselves. One is proactively stripping law-abiding citizens of their basic God-given human rights, and the other is unfortunately a part of the human condition which will never go away, that some of us are violent. Peace is a two-way street. If one person doesn't want it, guess what? You don't have it. Period. You don't have it. That's it. I want peace. I don't. Now we have a decision to make. And by the way, Monday morning, the suspects were still at large. One of them now, thank God, killed himself, but this is from the police department.
Unfortunately, the two males are still at
Santa
large.
with leukemia.
This despite ongoing, relentless efforts through the night by both the RCMP and the Regina Police Service to locate these two individuals.
Are
they
you gonna
have not
finish
yet
that?
been located, and so efforts continue. We've got a fresh set of investigators and shifts coming in today that will take over this investigation, and we will not stop this investigation until we have those two safely in custody.
But why safely?
I don't
How about unsafely in custody?
It'd be funny if he just got stabbed.
Yeah, in whatever condition we happen to bring them in custody.
I don't care if you bring them back in pieces. Put their head on a turtle. Safely back in custody.
These violent criminals need to be brought back without a scratch.
And they'll get a stern talking to. You trust me on that.
I will waggle my finger at them.
Well, here's the thing, too. A lot of people don't. We have a lot of shootings. We've had plenty of shootings, actually, in Canada. So Montreal, 3. We had Concordia, École Polytechnique, and I had friends at Dawson College when people were shot. Mass shootings, right? These had taken place. And one of them was École Polytechnique was one of the first mass shootings. He lined up women against the wall and shot them in the back of the head, execution style.
Jeez.
Yeah, because he thought he was being fired for being a man, and it was like an affirmative action, a quota with hiring. Guy just completely went off the rails. And again, he can do that because no one can defend themselves.
Right.
No one is executed by a citizen unless they are disarmed, right? That's very different. But here's the thing. We've had plenty of mass shootings. You do have mass shootings in the United States. You have mass shootings across the world. And sure, the United States is toward the top of that list as far as mass shootings. Not violent crime, not homicide, not even necessarily just gun crime. And they still aren't even number one as far as mass shootings. The point is mass shootings exist everywhere. Something that you don't see in the United States, however, you see this mass stabbing, right? 10 victims, 10 people dead. I believe it was 18 people stabbed. It reminded me of what happened in Nova Scotia years ago, where there was a guy, a 51-year-old Gabriel Wortman. Was this in 2020? Was that recently? Really? Okay, I thought it was longer ago.
Oh, yeah, the last few years have just flown by.
He killed 22 people at 16 locations.
Wow.
Just like the mass stabbing. What happens is they go from place to place to place, and they can't be stopped. You don't see that in the United States. He traveled over 100 kilometers. Because the article did kilometers, I didn't feel like doing the math of the 2.2.
So 60-something.
Yeah, about 60-something miles. That is an evil that is very hard to grasp. And it's also really hard to grasp a government that has created a scenario where someone can go knock on doors like he was trick-or-treating and kill 22 people. You know why? No one could stop him. This went on for days.
Yeah.
He's just walking around, traveling, shooting people. Just like right now, they haven't caught these 2 stabbers. One of them committed suicide.
Yeah. Well, and so we had the Sunderland Springs example where somebody did stop him. He was on his way to do something else somewhere else.
An NRA certified instructor, Stephen Williford. This was the first show he did. It was one of the most deadly mass shootings in history. Before Vegas, I think it actually was. Certainly top 2.
Yeah.
Was that the one in Texas?
Yeah.
Yeah, I met 2 kids whose parents were killed in that.
Yeah, well, we had the guy who killed the shooter. He was on the show, Stephen Williford. It's one of the most awkward things I've had to do because he wanted to come on this show because he's a fan of the show, and I didn't want to be exploitative, so I said, look, whatever you want to talk about. And when he started crying on air, I didn't want it to be a Barbara Walters thing, so I just wanted to be honest with him and say, look, this term is thrown around flippantly. You are a hero. This shooter in Sutherland Springs, was planning on going to another church.
Yeah.
Just shooting, and the good guy with a gun stopped him. And by the way, there are millions of examples every year of a good guy with a gun. In Canada, you have a mass stabbing because no one can do anything, and then you have this guy who killed 22 people at 16 separate locations, in addition to mass shootings like you have here in the United States. Again, I ask you, do you believe that you will stop human nature? If you don't, if you believe that some human beings will inherently and flagrantly disregard the law in order to harm their fellow citizens, then you understand why the Second Amendment is a God-given right. Even if you're one of those edgy atheists who doesn't like to believe in God, thank God the racist founding fathers did, because they said it's a right that government doesn't grant and they can't take away. Government only serves to protect your God-given rights. That's what inalienable means. It means it's not granted by the government. And by the way, this shooter in Nova Scotia, for people who don't remember this, we talked about it when it happened. He had apparently been publicly embarrassed by his final victim, Gina Goulet, at a work conference. A lady recounted who worked with him. She said, Gina responded to something Gabriel had said with, "Oh, for F's sake, Gabe, you don't know that," or something like that. My eyes went big, and like I knew that Gina had embarrassed him, and he knew it because he and I made eye contact. Gina then said, "So what? It's effing Gabe. What's he going to do?" Well, I guess ask the police report.
Yeah, he's going to go on a 100-kilometer killing spree and kill you last.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's what she said. She said, what's he going to do? That was the last victim. Where he said, remember me? She was like, shit. All right.
Ah, Gabe.
I guess that's one for you, Gabe.
Well, a dozen.
Yeah.
Jeez. Fool me once.
Fool me once. Fool me 22 times. And by the way...
saying it's effing Gabe is not going to help.
Yeah, I know. It's effing Gabe. What's he going to do? I don't know. Have you seen his browser history?
You just said effing Gabe. Now, I think you set him off.
No one could stop him.
No.
Imagine that. Just picture... You can't even fathom this in the United States. It's really hard for you to think, wait, the person just went through the neighborhood and no one stopped him? Because even if you're one of those pussies who doesn't have a gun and you don't want one in the house... You know that someone else in your neighborhood does.
Yeah.
You know that someone is going to put a stop to it. Not in Canada. This is not the first time this has happened. It's happened with guns, it's happened with knives, and this happens across the world on a regular basis. And of course, this will tie into what is happening with the midterms. If you look at Joe Biden saying, we don't want to take guns away. We actually want to encourage law-abiding citizens to own guns. And then goes on to say we want to ban assault weapons, which, by the way, is almost all of your handguns, just to be clear. And by the way, just to touch up on this, we have it in an old video. The United States does not have the highest violent crime in the world. If you look at the murder rates per 100,000, you have El Salvador, you have Jamaica, you have Honduras. We have less than 5 homicides per 100,000. Jamaica, for example, has 43. El Salvador has 52. And we're not even in the top 10 for mass shootings in the Western world. Just to be clear, we're ranked 11th. Now, I'm not saying that we don't have a substantial amount of gun violence here in the United States. Of course we do, and any gun violence is too much. I don't mean that in a way to strip you of your firearm rights. I mean it's sad because human beings committing violence against each other it's a sad prospect. But when you take into account it's 14,000 when you're talking about gun homicides per year, anywhere from 12 to 20 tops, and most of it is inter-gang related, because I'm not including the suicide statistics.
Yeah.
But guess what? You know, it is unfortunate. It's tragic. Every single life lost, but it's not the same as people being completely defenseless, sitting ducks for days on end, relying on the help from your Mounties.
Right. Or your government, right? So Joe Biden's making the case that violent MAGA extremists, people out there, we're trying to take away all the guns in society, but he's talking to a crowd of people who pretty much typically don't own firearms, right?
Right.
Most Democrats. Who's going to save them?
Right.
Not them. Not their neighbors. They have to trust in government. They have to trust in the elite.
And combined, too, when you have Kamala Harris, the lady who is saying, like, they're not going to stop. They're going to continue. And nor should they. They should continue. That's not a bad Kamala.
Not bad.
Nor should they. They should continue. That's
the last part. Yeah,
she's saying that, and this is the same person saying they should continue, meaning burning, looting, killing cops, and you shouldn't have the right to own firearms.
Yeah.
Combine that. That's evil.
Yeah.
That's evil. Even if you believe that there's an equivalent from Donald Trump or from Republicans, which there isn't, a call to action to violence. If you believe that me, for example, saying tomorrow is war, and I come on the show and say I'm not calling you to violence, but if you believe that that is just as extreme, well, at the very least, I'm not trying to disarm you. Someone calling half the population to violence while attempting to disarm the other half. It's amazing to me that not everybody sees it. That is so much more sinister. When they say Donald Trump is well, generally fascists don't want a population as armed as humanly possible.
Yeah, they don't want a small government. They don't want to give you more freedom and flexibility and more of your own money to be able to spend. Fascism has apparently changed into something completely new. But if you're Joe Biden right now and you're Democrats and you believe that there is this threat that is out there, that is just waiting for an event to go off, wouldn't you want your side to be armed? If you're like, that's the inevitable end, they're going to come after us with guns and try to take over our country, wouldn't you want every opportunity to defend yourself? Wouldn't you want every one of your citizens to be armed to defend against that?
They want, because here's the thing. For the same reason, violence is amoral. People don't like hearing this. Violence and sex, for example, they're amoral acts. You'll see a lot of Europeans say, you Americans are you're so hung up about sex in your advertising, but you allow violence. Hold on a second. If you maybe like violent action films, which you do as well, Europe, can you name a Dutch action star? No, of course not. They're the most jealous people in the world. Everyone in Europe, right?
Jean Van Clog.
Yes, Jean Van Clog. He wears his wooden shoes.
Lagenstein.
This is the thing, is they have our stars. Our biggest export is culture, and we don't have their stars.
No.
Same thing, Sweden, Finland, they look down at the United States and they say, by the way, you know how we didn't want a NATO? We were wrong about that. Can we come in now? I don't know, you owe about $700 billion, then we'll have a conversation. But the point that I'm making here is these Europeans will say, for example, you have so much violence and you're hung up about sex. No, hold on a second. We have violent films and sex. Let's use those as a very clear example. Violence can be used to rape a woman, or violence can be used to stop the rape of a woman. Sex can be something beautiful in a monogamous, loving relationship, ideally marriage, or it can be gross and one-night stand or lead to monkeypox. The point is the context really matters. We don't put breasts and naked women on our advertising billboards like they do in Quebec, like they do in Europe, because we don't think it's age appropriate for the same reason we have a film rating system. And kids are not allowed to watch R-rated films. So they think that America is hung up on violence. But here's the thing. In a society where you strip people of their right to own firearms, and for the same reason that violence is amoral, and for the same reason that a gun is the only thing that can make a woman as strong as a man, there's nothing else that can make a woman as strong as a man outside of a gun. It's now a mechanical advantage as opposed to a physical one. The law-abiding citizens, if not allowed to defend themselves, will be the victims of violence, period. Because lawless people will always commit violence. They do not care. So when you strip the citizenry of firearms, you disproportionately affect women, law-abiding citizens, the disabled because it's the only thing that evens the playing field. So to answer your question, this is a long way around, but they don't want their citizens to be able, or their voters, their constituents, to be able to defend themselves. They want their voters to be violent offensively and then be subjugated. That's what they want. Because guess what? If they have knives, if you ban the citizens from owning firearms, well, guess what? These people who are rioting and looting and $4 billion in damages and 60,000 officer casualties, they're going to find a way to violently assault the citizens. Once that's taken place, well, now these people, though, they don't have the kinds of weapons where we can't subjugate them. Their goal is control over all of you, from taxes down to what you can say, down to what kind of a grip your firearm can have. Again, if we're talking about fascism, let's say you believe Donald Trump's a fascist. Fine. He's a really bad one. American conservatism is a really bad platform for fascism. How are you going to control your population? Well, we're going to control them by lowering taxes, by allowing them to say whatever they want, because we believe the First Amendment is absolute.
And I want giant buildings that prove I'm a capitalist.
Right. And allow them to own firearms so that they can fight off a tyrannical government. I think this is good for that seems you could probably do some kind of a Venn diagram and that would line up with Pinochet or Pol Pot. All right, I want to hear what you had to say that we couldn't say on YouTube. Please hit the like button, share if you can. Again, this is Parody Week, so tomorrow we have another song. You can go listen to them on Spotify, Apple, Android. You can actually download the songs. Dave is going to be in Port Charlotte. Tell them where you're going to be.
This weekend, Friday and Saturday, Vasani's in Port Charlotte, Florida. And then next week, we are in Houston.
Oh, that's right. Phoenix and Houston. That's right. Well, Phoenix is sold out.
Right, yeah.
There are still seats in Houston, though, because we expanded it. So Houston, September 17th, and send your emails to tips@louderwithcarter.com. We will fly 50 lucky West Virginians out. YouTube, thank you very much. I really want to hear what Gerald had to say. Hopefully, do you still have it in your memory bank?
I'll get it back.
Oh, well, okay. YouTube, piss off.